Hi guys, good morning. I wanted to come on here to talk about a good question that I received. Why don't I promote animal products, especially dairy? Because a lot of the other doctors that focus on hormones, they promote raw dairy, and I'm gonna tell you why. So first of all, I'm vegan, so that's the main thing. So ethically, I don't feel good about promoting something I don't believe in, but actually my ethical reasons are backed by science too, because thankfully we can be incredibly healthy and have everything we need on a plant-based diet. So I specialize in plant-based nutrition, and therefore I can actually work with women to make sure that they understand that they can get everything they need from plants. So when some of my counterparts would promote having animal flesh and dairy for protein, I think that we don't need it. I know we don't need it. We can get enough protein, including leucine, which is very important for building muscle, when we have plants. So things like tempeh, tofu are brilliant, especially when it comes to leucine. It has comparables to animal products, and when you actually match them, especially with the calories, in fact, probably less calories in tofu and tempeh. Tempeh is a little more concentrated, but still. And again, we don't count calories like that, but just to give you an example. Because I know there are doctors out there like Dr. Lyon try to always talk about getting leucine from plant-based food, meaning having to have thousands of calories or 1,100 calories from things like quinoa, which of course, that means 6 cups. I mean, who's gonna eat 6 cups of quinoa? Even if you love it, but that's not a good comparable when you can compare tofu and tempeh. So okay, well, selective marketing, promotion, but she's someone that will push animal products. Dr. Mindy Peltz, who actually learned a lot about fasting from, she also is focused on animal products and sometimes even pushes carnivore, which I really don't understand. She used to be vegetarian. Okay, well, I don't know. She used to eat vegetarian. She wasn't actually a vegetarian or vegan. So there is an ethical thing that goes with it. But once you understand plant-based nutrition and you know that you can get everything, you actually don't worry and you promote the least damaging option. Now, for our health, we know from meta-analysis, we know from randomized case studies, we know from years of research that a mostly plant and fully plant-based diet is actually very healthy for us. You are not deficient in anything unless you are deficient because you're not eating the right things. And by the way, deficiencies happen also in people with omnivore diets, especially when it comes to things like iron. So I have met more people who have anemia who are actually eating animal products, and including meat, than I have vegetarians and vegans. So I want to just put it out there from the field, okay? So again, if you know how to eat and how to structure your meals and you eat enough calories and enough food, you're gonna be fine. So that's one thing. When it comes to dairy, I understand the argument of raw dairy versus pasteurized. I truly do, but I also know why it is. If you opted for raw dairy, you're also taking a big risk, because a lot of people think, okay, the argument can be, yeah, but those dairy cows that give raw dairy don't live in the same conditions like CAFO institutions that other dairies do, where the milk has to be pasteurized because a lot of them have mastitis, which is an infection of the udder, and therefore you're going to have infections in your milk, pus cells. And although when you measure it's not a lot, it's still pus. And you can argue that those cows that have a happy life where you get raw milk from, they don't have those problems. But you can also argue that there is still a chance that they might have an infection and the farmer is not telling you, or It's not very easy to find actually raw milk on the market. You can have it sometimes at farmers market or directly from the farmer. So yes, there is a more controlled environment where there's a relationship with the animal. But again, going back to the ethics, is it necessary? Because I always say, if we need to have milk, why don't we drink human milk until we are... Why do we have to go to another species when us women make milk? Well, because we only make milk when we're pregnant, and dairy cows do exactly the same. They only make milk when they are pregnant and they just had a baby, and the milk is supposed to be to their baby, go to their baby, not to us. So you see here, like, there is always a flow of thinking. And again, it's not like we're surviving and that's the only food that we're gonna have access to that can keep us alive, okay? If you have the option, why would you want to have that when you can actually have amazing plant food that is fortified even in vitamins like B12 or D, which is actually not a vitamin, it's a hormone, but anyway, so we can fortify these foods. Like, why would you go and get that from an animal whose baby's gonna be starved because we have to have the milk? It makes absolutely no sense to me and to anybody that actually thinks about it. Socially, we have come to think that it's normal. Socially, we accept it because we haven't been taught differently, because we don't know better. I get it. I grew up that way. I grew up with my grandmother telling me that if I didn't drink my glass of milk, I would have brittle bones, or that I wouldn't get enough protein. I grew up with the, if you don't eat animal products, you're going to shrivel up. I grew up with that. And actually, up to 30 years old, that was my mantra. And if somebody came to me and talked to me about vegan food, I'd be like, are you crazy? I'm not a hippie. And now I'm like, oh my gosh, I was that person. And so I get it, that we get brainwashed by society and our parents, and that what we know is what we know. We don't know, we don't know. But when you actually put two cells together in your brain and they, you know, beautiful neurons have a synopsis, I think you really can think that logically it doesn't make sense to have animal products if you don't need to. You know, we're not in the bushes somewhere, that we are surviving. So yeah, this is why I don't promote it. So partly it's because honestly, like, raw could be, it could potentially pose a danger. Pasteurized, what's the point of having pasteurized? It's that food. What's the point of having any food at all that from cows if you don't have to? Like, those are why. And also, again, our impact as women on the planet. This planet needs love, and I think it needs a lot of nurturing, and women are the nurturers. So when I hear doctors saying that they wake up in the morning and they choose violence for their nutrition, I'm just really disheartened. Those are women that act like you know, butchers, men, like aggressive energy, and I don't love it. I'm like, well, I don't understand it, honestly. But I mean, okay, you know, I'm not gonna argue about it and whatever, but stop pushing the meat carnivore thing when you don't have to. That's really just down to it. So I choose kindness, and I choose kindness and health. And so, you know, I'm also not here saying if you eat plants you'll be the healthiest person necessarily, because there are so many variables that go into being healthy. There are nuisances when we talk about nutrition, and there are nuisances when we talk about health in general. I can still get cancer. There are so many things that promote cancer, lifestyle factor, stress level. Like, I'm obviously run down. I've been run down, and I never had a cold sore on my. I always had 3 times on my nose, interestingly enough, but on my lip I did it. It doesn't feel like cold sore, but I think it might be. But I feel like I'm actually run down. So you know, you see my immune system is like, hey, you need to take it easy. So I'm trying this week to like really take it easy and focus on me, and try to really just, you know, pace myself. And it takes time and it takes commitment. But again, I eat the best diet that I could possibly think of right now. And I work out every day. I do yoga every morning. I do meditation. I go to do strength training. And yet, my immune system is like a little bit run down. So your health is not straightforward, but we can only do the best that we can. So when it comes to animal products, the best that we can, to me, is to learn how to have everything we need from plants, because with the protein, which is the biggest argument, by the way, that's why I'm bringing it up a lot, come micronutrients you cannot find in animal products. The polyphenols and the phytochemicals that are actually only from plants and have been shown to be most protective against cardiovascular disease, cancer, and so on. So doesn't it make sense? I mean, we can only eat so much food, right? Unless you have a diet that is truly only refined food, like refined carbohydrates and junk, where basically you never get satiated and you eat a lot more calories for very little nutrients. When you eat a lot of nutrients, you have less calories generally. Your body responds better. Now, there's something that comes up all the time again in a question is, but what if people can't have fiber because they have digestive issues? I bring this up all the time, and I'm going to bring it up until the end of dawn, because this always is one of these straw man arguments that is used by the carnivores. Again, it's nuanced, so it needs to be understood into perspective. Yes, there are some people who have trouble with fiber, meaning they have a very weak digestive system that is either damaged or inflamed. They could have Crohn's, IBD, IBS, SIBO, whatever the issue is, that when they eat certain things, they get more inflamed, the immune system reacts, and therefore they're like, we have to stay away from fiber. That's not necessarily how you want to go about it. There is a time of elimination to allow the gut to heal, and then there is a time of reintroduction, which is very slow and mindful, and preferably done with a gastroenterologist guidance and nutritionist guidance to build up the microbiome again, meaning every time you add a new plant into your body, a new bacteria is fed and therefore proliferates, and that bacteria is going to give you the best that bacteria can give you. Like every bacteria in our gut that is good eats fiber. That's their food, not ours. We don't digest fiber, and they can thrive on it if they're given the chance. And sometimes you have to start literally with one, say chickpea, right? One chickpea, one bean, not even a teaspoon, a tablespoon, one a day. Like, you have to start that little to allow your gut to get used to it, because anything can trigger you. So yes, that can be happening, and there are ways to do this on an elimination diet. But being carnivore forever is, we don't have long-term studies, but we actually have indications that high saturated fats, especially from animal products, do cause a lot of cardiovascular issues. For us women, as we get into menopause, because of our declining estrogen, cardiovascular issues are even more elevated. So actually adding food that can even make that worse makes no sense. It absolutely makes no sense. So I want to just be clear about this, right? So yes, there are times when an elimination diet, like a carnivore diet, can be beneficial, as much as it pains me, but it's transitional, it's not forever, and you certainly don't want to be out there promoting this as a long time lifestyle. So I hope that's clear, because I really get frustrated when this comes up and people say things, they parrot things without actually thinking and understanding how our gastrointestinal system work, because it's complex. We don't even know everything we need to know about our microbiome, by the way. Like, we are still in the process of learning a lot about it, so imagine. So guys, this is what I wanted to share with you. I hope it makes sense. I love your comments and feedback. I know that I got some feedback on YouTube about actually someone that says, your diet caused me digestive issues. So this hopefully will answer that question. Will answer that one. She didn't reply when I answered. The answer is always the same, because that's the truth that we know so far. And hope it's helpful. Bye.